Welcome to the Graybeard Chronicles podcast. Your hosts, Brian Halstead and Kevin Harkins, are two gray-bearded patriots who love God, their family and friends, and their country. The Graybeards are here to inspire, inform, and educate you on a myriad of topics they are passionate about. Brian and Kevin have a strong desire to share this with you to help you live your best life. Sit back and enjoy this amazing podcast as the Graybeards pass along the wisdom of the ages.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of the Graybeard Chronicles. I'm Brian Halstead.
And I'm Kevin Harkins.
And Kevin, we're here to pass along some wisdom of the ages. What the heck does that mean?
We're not perfect, but we do have gray beards. And that means we've got some significant life experience, some life lessons, and some perspectives that are worthy of passing along.
Well, I think that sums it up nicely. Let's get to it. Kevin, what's going on, buddy? Welcome back to the hood.
Thank you. Let's get to it.
Nice.
Every time you say that, I love that part of the...
That just gets you all fired up, doesn't it?
Let's
get to it. Let's get to it.
Let's get to it. Yeah, I'm good. All is well. Back from the beach. You probably noticed how bronze godlike I'm looking. When well, you might not have noticed, but other people certainly have. Yeah.
You wouldn't be offended if I didn't notice, right?
No, not
okay.
at all.
Right,
not
good.
a bit. Not a bit.
Yeah.
Well.
Yeah. Well, I don't know. Yeah, I mean, you were out in the sun some, but you when we saw you sitting at the beach, you were underneath that covered area, relaxing with the beach in the background.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It was nice. I've had enough sun in my life to, like, I'm not a lay on the beach and turn into I don't know, cooked waffle. That's not me.
Right.
Those days for me are over, but I love being on the beach,
Yeah.
particularly walking on the beach.
Nice.
But I'm covered with sunblock 50 whatever SPF something.
Yeah, they call that the eclipse.
The eclipse.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Just spray some eclipse on you. You're good.
Yep.
Well, welcome back, man. It's good to see you again.
Good to
Missed
see you
having
as
you here
well.
last week.
Yeah. It's nice to be here where you can look at each other in the eye and not have a delay in the transmission. As it goes back and forth.
Hopefully our timing will be better on our enjoy the ride this week because it was kind of shitty with that little delay going on.
It's all right.
But
Still
hey,
good.
that wasn't our first rodeo. We've experienced that before.
It's all good. All good. You doing all right?
I am doing well, thank you.
All right.
Yeah. No
Here
complaints.
we are. Episode, what is it? Episode.
Oh man, we are dropping our last double digit tonight, right? We're recording it. It won't publish until Wednesday. But yeah, this is number 99.
Man.
About to break into triple digits.
About to break into triple digits. That's a big deal.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That is cool.
We haven't talked about, what it means to walk down this path, but remember we were talking about, wow, tonight's number 5. Ooh, it's number 8. Once you get to 8, you'll keep going. And then it was, you said, no, it's 15.
Right.
15. If you get
15's
to 15,
the magic number.
That's the magic number.
Yeah. I still, think back to those days where we were uncomfortably close, both talking in the same microphone before. Yeah, before we invested in some different equipment. Now we're, a little more comfortably spaced.
Yeah. Yeah, it is better that way.
Yeah. Yeah, good times though, man. It's definitely come a long way. I think the audio is certainly of better quality, and now we've added some video to the mix here in the last month or so. A couple months anyways, I think.
Yeah.
I don't know, man. Time flies. But it's definitely a good journey.
I'm
Enjoying
having
the
a
heck out of
ball.
it.
I'm still having a ball. It gets funner and funner all the time.
And that's a technical term too.
It
man.
is.
It's funner.
Funner. Yes.
Damn Skippy.
Yeah, exactly. Well, it was your turn for a topic.
It was indeed.
And I like the topic. I'm ready to talk about the topic.
That's good. That will definitely be helpful.
So, how did you arrive? What was the circumstance that led you to this particular topic? And what are your initial thoughts about it?
All right, so that's a great question, and we like to kind of lead in when we start these things off that
Right.
way. And for me, first off, we'll talk about the title, and the title tonight is or this morning, whenever you're listening to this, is the spirit of giving. And for me, this is something that I believe in wholeheartedly, and maybe not in the same context that everyone else thinks of the spirit of giving when you first hear that phrase. Oftentimes, and it happened with my wife today. She asked me what the topic for this episode was, and I told her the spirit of giving, and she said, or asked, so it's a Christmas theme, and I said no, but interesting that you would say that, right? Because I think that's oftentimes when that phrase is commonly used is around Christmas and holidays, or whenever. That it's pretty common. In fact, if you do a search for that term, you'll have some Christmas stuff pop up. But for me, it's a much broader mindset and understanding of the spirit of giving. And I'm not just talking about giving people gifts, or certainly not material things anyways. I'm talking about a whole way of thinking and operating where you are giving people things that they value that may never cost you a dime. And I'm thinking about time. I'm thinking about your word and keeping your word. I'm thinking about giving a damn or giving a shit about who you are and what you do and how you show up. And giving compassion and empathy. And just there's so many things that you can give that don't cost you any money that are incredibly valuable to other people. And especially, you hear me talk about my daughters frequently, and one of the most valuable things that you can give your children and grandchildren or great grandchildren is time.
Yeah.
And while there might be a cost to you, sacrificing something else in order to be able to give them that time, the return on the investment is absolutely immeasurable, I believe.
Yeah, and you said that it is very important for you to do that for somebody else, but one of the things that I got out of this week that I enjoyed very much was what it does for you personally, each one of us individually, when we go through the process. I thoroughly enjoyed thinking about this topic this week, and just taking the time to stop and work through the different ways that we can give. And you've already mentioned a number of them already. And just thinking about it, and then thinking about individual people in my life, thinking about organizations, I just started to smile.
Right.
To think about.
It's funny you say that, because that's what I'm thinking, and I'm smiling while you're talking about it. And it's one of those things, and we've mentioned this with other subjects. You can't think about those types of things and not smile.
Yeah.
Go ahead, try humorous. Just, put yourself in a crappy mood and try to maintain that crappy mood and think about giving your time and your talents and your treasures to other people and sharing with those around you. It'll shift that mindset back to a happy one in a second.
Yeah, and so it's just, there's so much goodness in giving in all directions. One of the stories that I read while thinking about the topic this week was from a family that gave, I don't know every detail of the family, but they gave their daughter, their 4-year-old, 5-year-old daughter, probably maybe a little older, $1. And they gave her $1 to go buy a gift for one of the family members. And she came back from the store that they were in, having purchased something for less than $1, and could not stop talking the whole way back in the car about how excited she was to give this gift. And it just created this incredible, atmosphere of joy and fun, and it was so very helpful, and that's what it did to her at even such a small age. And when you just stop and think about, wow, that's what giving does. She was so excited because she knew that when she gave this gift to the person that it was intended for, what they were going to think about it. And
right. It's going to bring them joy.
Yeah.
And when you have the ability to do that for somebody else, that's just outstanding. And it returns tenfold to you, I think.
Yeah, even more so.
Yeah. Yeah, it's a beautiful thing. I don't know. I don't know if there was a single incident that caused me to think about it. It's just, like I said, it's something I have focused on for a number of years, and just believe in the importance thereof. And I think it's something, it's like anything else. When you talk about it and you think about it, you have conversations with other people about it, it spreads. And
it's contagious.
Yep.
It's like a contagious good disease that when you're around people that are very giving, it makes you want to be.
And God knows
same.
we've had enough of contagions that aren't good. So let's spread some good stuff around.
Yeah, and honestly, one of the things I thought about this week was the fact that you are part of this motorcycle club. That's one of the things. You have a predisposition to be a giver. I've observed that about you in your life, and you don't do it just through the motorcycle club. You sort of live it, and it's fun to watch that. But you guys and gals, the brothers and sisters that are part of your, I'll call it a brotherhood, your clan, your group.
Yeah, brothers and sisters are included in brotherhood. It's a gender neutral term.
Exactly.
Right. We're trendsetters in that way.
Yeah. You exist really to give, and not only are you having a good time doing it yourselves, but of course the people and the organizations that you give to benefit greatly from it as well, and it's just a neat example. So a lot of people see that, a lot of people know that. I've heard them talking about all of you, the brotherhood, behind your back in a very good way, and keep it up. It inspires me.
Nice. I appreciate you saying that. That's very kind.
Yeah. Bet.
Yeah, we had you missed it again. You were out of town.
I was.
I think you might. Let me ask you. Are you avoiding us?
No. I can't wait.
Next
wait
month,
to go to biker night.
You got to get the bike night on your calendar. The third Thursday of every month.
You bet.
So whatever that one is in June, I'm not sure the date off the top of my head.
Did you guys smoke cigars?
There was some cigar smoking, and there was some pipe smoking, and a whole lot of pizza eating.
That was a seriously slow response to that question. Did you not remember it, or did you?
No. I was just processing all the other things that we were doing.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Got it.
Yeah, we were outside, man. It was beautiful. The weather was absolutely gorgeous, especially in contrast to the first bike night we had in April when it was a little chilly. Now everything lined up great for this one. Had a great turnout, and just the host location, 6 Bears and a Goat, man, those folks are just top notch.
Yeah.
And I know I said something earlier on a Facebook post about congratulating them with all of the honors that they received in the Best of the Berg competition this year.
Oof.
Yeah, that's good stuff, man. Cleaning house.
Yeah.
Y'all are doing good stuff.
Yeah. Well, thank you.
And people are noticing.
Yeah. I'm not. I'm just standing back watching it anymore.
Right.
Now it's just letting the people who were there, slugging it out in the trenches every day, take care of business, and they're doing a very, very good job of it.
Yeah, no doubt.
Absolutely.
No doubt. They are great hosts, and we certainly enjoy partnering with them for that bike night and for other events that we have. So, and the spirit of giving was alive and well the other night. We were raising funds for a young lady that's dealing with breast cancer, and there was plenty of generosity going on with folks giving some money in this particular case to help her out. But that's always a beautiful thing.
Yeah. There you go, changing lives, one person at a time. That's wonderful. Thank you for doing that.
You're certainly welcome.
I'd heard a quote before, and I was reminded of it during the research and the thought that I was putting into this podcast, and it was a quote by Jim Rohn. And the first time I heard it, and I heard him ask the question, I remember having a reaction to it, and then he told me the rest of the story. And it's this: if you have a glass full of water, and the glass is full,
right?
Can you put any more water in the glass?
Absolutely.
Yeah, I didn't think...
It's different water because some will overflow, right? But you can absolutely put more water, and the stuff that's already in there will start to leave and overflow and help other things.
There you go. And that's kind of the metaphor, the way he described it. Because when I first heard it, I go, no, it's done. It's full up. You can't do that anymore. And he said, sure you can. If you pour some of the water out In other words, through giving, if you give that away, then you have more room to put more water into it. And I just thought, that's it. That tells the story. The way you get more is to give more. And and then it all comes back at you. You're right, tenfold.
And again, we're not always talking about money or monetary, material things. There's lots of ways to give, but certainly, I mean, I'm a believer that that money is, they call it cash flow and revenue streams. Those terms in and of themselves indicate motion, and you can't squeeze that off. Because when you squeeze it off, then not only are you restricting the flow from one direction, you're restricting it from the other direction too. So, you'll cut off the inbound money and what's going out. So, yeah, you got to keep that flowing.
Yeah. In terms of how to give, the three very simple categories that I put it into: ways that we can give: time, talents, money. That's it. Just like you said. Time, you've mentioned already that's something that we can do. The talents that you have, if you're particularly good at something and somebody else is struggling with an issue or struggling with a problem, and you can bring your talent to bear on that issue and fix that problem, there you go. That's another source of giving, and just as valid as any of it. And of course, time is incredibly powerful, especially when you're talking about children. Giving children the time they need molds and shapes them into the human beings that you want them to be over time. So those are all the areas you should think about doing it.
So I'm sitting here messing with my phone. I don't know if you can see that on the video, but I've got some notes on my phone that I want to look at, and Kevin gives me a hard time about using paper. Now I remember why I like paper, because the screen on my paper never turns off. So I know I've got a setting on my phone here that I've got to do something with, because it keeps blanking out on me, and then I got to re-enter my passcode, because for some reason the Face ID is not working when I've got this microphone and the headphones on my head. Technologically challenged right now. Yeah. So anyways, I just we could sit here and talk about all the different ways, and I think we should continue. One of the things that came to mind to me when I'm talking, or when I'm making notes on this, is feedback, and the importance of giving people open and honest and authentic feedback about how they're doing. You talked about being there for a friend. I think you mentioned something to that effect, right? So sometimes just lending an ear or a set of them to help somebody that's having a challenging time, and sometimes people need advice, and sometimes people need coaching, and the difference there, for me anyways, is what a coach does is helps the person see it for themselves. Unlike I'll use the example or comparison of a consultant, right? So a consultant will tell you, it needs to be done this way. A coach will ask you questions and peel back the layers and cut down the trees so that you can actually see the forest and figure it out on your own. And I ultimately think that's a better way to go about it, because when you have that realization yourself, there's emotions that are associated with it, and then the learning becomes real because it's sticky when emotions are involved. So when you give somebody that kind of time, and you can help them through a challenge that they're having in their life, and you can offer feedback and so on, that's invaluable to somebody that's dealing with a difficult time.
That's a good ad.
And it doesn't really cost you anything other than a little bit of your own time.
Yeah. I did not, that was one of the thoughts that did not occur to me when preparing, was the idea of feedback. But you're right, it's an incredible gift from teachers, from coaches, from close friends. Yeah, that's really is a gift that you can put them on a path, or on the right path, or help them make the decision to adjust the path that they're on through the feedback that you give them. And long term, that can be a very valuable gift. I love that. Well done.
Well, thank you, sir.
Yeah.
And your word, I think I mentioned that early on, giving your word to people, and standing behind it, right? So it's got to mean something. Your own personal integrity is something that no one can take away from you, ever. You're the only one that can give that up. So don't compromise it. When you tell somebody you're going to do something, do it.
Yeah. Yeah, my mind went all over the place on that one. Just because, what if you made the mistake that you've done that and you didn't keep your word?
Yeah. There are certain circumstances, and I think, again, when you go back, if you start talking about the E plus R equals O, there are things sometimes where you don't hold all the pieces to the puzzle.
Right.
And you may say that something's going to be done, and there may have been somebody or something else that had to come through to also make that happen.
Right.
And ultimately, it's still your responsibility.
Right.
And you still take the hit for not delivering. And at the same time, it wasn't an intentional act on your part. And I don't believe I don't view that as a compromising act of as far as compromising your integrity.
Yep.
Because you certainly had the intention
Right.
to follow through, and things occurred that were potentially outside of your control that made it not happen.
Or the truth changed,
Yeah.
or whatever.
Yeah.
All good. One of the aspects of this that I ended up also focusing on as I continued to do some of the research into it, just to kind of see what was out there, was something that I didn't spend a lot of time thinking about before until I went through this exercise. But then I thought, wow, this is great. And so I know people will enjoy this. So you give your time, you give your talents, you give your money. And I want to go through these, the physical benefits of giving and what that does to you. Lowers your blood pressure. I mean, just think of that. That's amazing. Just the simple act of giving some of your time and watching the reaction that you get from the people that you gave that.
Yeah, it's all that positive emotion coming back to you.
And it's causing you to calm down, and it's causing you to lower your blood pressure. And you might have been completely stressed out about something going on during your work day, something happened at home. All of a sudden, you decide to do a random act of kindness, a random act of giving, and then all of a sudden you're like,
All right, so I don't want to interrupt your chain of thought too much here, and I feel like I need to slide this in there right now, so that this just popped into my mind. So when you're in a scenario like that, and you've given somebody something, and you're feeling the emotions associated with that, and so on, are you thinking about other stuff?
Absolutely not.
So that's what mindfulness feels like.
Amen.
Right. So when you're in that zone where you are so just absorbed in what it is you're doing right then and there, that is the art of mindfulness that we've talked about so many times, and that's the feeling and the mindset that you want to replicate to be 100% engaged in stuff.
Yeah, absolutely. I love that. You're right. And when you are totally focused on that giving event, even if it's a few seconds, the goodness that you get. Another Jim Rohn story, which we've talked about on the podcast, but it's completely appropriate to talk about right now. Remember the story that he tells about buying the milkshake for the gas station attendant? I don't know if you know that.
I'm not sure I do.
Okay. So he and his wife pulled into a gas station, and it was back in the day where there it wasn't all self-serve. People would come out and
Back in the day where you had to flip the license plate down to put gas in the back of the car.
There you go. That's one of the things. And so they left the gas station, and they were so impressed with this young man that was giving them the service, pumping the gas, cleaning the windshield, checking the air pressure in the tires, and so on, that they bought him. They went to an ice cream shop, and they bought him a
milkshake.
Thank you. Milkshake. And they brought it back to him and gave it to him. And he was completely blown away because, what 16-year-old kid doesn't want a milkshake? But
Right.
equally as important.
What 54-year-old kid doesn't want a milkshake? Did you bring a milkshake with you by chance?
50 years later, he's still talking about the positive benefits that he gained from that one event that cost him $1 to go to buy a milkshake and give to this kid, and all of the goodness that has come from that. That's what happens, folks, when you give, is that you replay the memory in your mind, and you say, wow, that was really neat. And not only that, but it makes you want to do it more. And it becomes addictive, right? It's like a disease. The disease spreads, and then you want to do it more, and then you want to do it more, and then you want to do it more, and you make the world a better place.
Yeah. Yeah, and that's another one of those things we've talked about, having that little memory box, you know, when you're having a crappy day and you want some things that'll lift you up. You know, it may be something that signifies a past accomplishment that you were very proud of. You know, maybe it's a scenario like that, and you write that little story down and you put it in that box. And you're having a crappy day, and you break open that box and read a few of these things, or look at some of the other trinkets that may be in there, and it lifts you up and it fills you up, and it reminds you how good doing stuff like that for other people makes you feel.
Right. Absolutely. All right. Circling back to another physical benefit.
All right.
So directly associated with blood pressure is stress level. It reduces your stress level. Same thing. You can't be stressed out when you're giving somebody something. You just can't do it. So
right.
That's another thing. It's who doesn't want lower blood pressure? Who doesn't want lower stress level? Who doesn't want less depression in the moment? You're living in the moment. You're doing something good for somebody. You're not depressed when you're doing that. No. You're not. I mean, these are incredible personal benefits. And so I'm not saying make it all about yourself, but what I'm saying is when you do this, it really does help you, and the self-esteem that you get out of it. Jim Rohn's talking about a story about giving a milkshake to a kid 50 years later, and the goodness that it's the gift that just keeps on giving. You can, I'm sure, tell story after story after story, and probably will continue to tell them with the brotherhood of strength and honor, and all the things that you guys have done for people over the years. It's amazing. It's wonderful. Yeah, sorry.
There's like a long, awkward silence there.
No.
I should say thank you for that, man. You're very kind.
Absolutely. Yeah. Let's see, what else here? Here's one. Go ahead.
No, I'm good.
Okay.
I was just looking at my list again now that I got my phone opened up.
So this applies. When I have some quotes too I want to read, but when Paul and I bought the house that we're in right now,
right,
we were having a discussion with the next door neighbor about what it means to live in this neighborhood, what it means to be the steward, and that's giving you a hint of where I'm headed with this, of this house. Old historic home, old town Fredericksburg, and by American standards, extremely old place to live. And he said, all we are, honestly, is we are stewards of this house for this time. And we are supposed to pour our heart and soul into maintaining it. And then at some point, we're going to be gone, and we pass it on to the next generation. I kind of look at giving the same way.
Yeah.
As human beings, we are stewards of the time, the talents, the money that we have. And we can't take any of it with us. And so we just need to pass it out there and pass it on until the next generation comes along and takes it over. I just think I thought that was a neat way to think about.
Yeah, that is a really cool way to think about it. That reminds me of a comment or conversation I've heard George Bruno have about pipes. Mm-hmm. And of course, you enjoy smoking pipes, and I'm a rookie, but I enjoy it very much.
You're not a rookie.
And I tell you, what George says about pipes is the same thing, right? So you never really own a pipe. You're just a steward of that pipe. And I think he's got a Dunhill pipe that's like 104 years old.
Okay.
And he just talks about thinking about who has smoked this pipe, right? So who's held this pipe in their hand while pondering different things, different experiences that they're having in their life, big decisions that they were dealing with, and so on. Think about that. I just think that's cool.
Yeah.
Same thing with your house.
That's right.
Think about the conversations that have been had in that house, and the different periods that were going on in our country, and that house was standing there at that time. Man, it's amazing to think about.
So here's another thing. Absolutely, here's another thing to do that will give you such a boost, and many people do it. And this is not new. for those of you who haven't, or you might be hearing about it for the first time, do this and find out how much positive impact has it. Go through a drive-through, whatever your chosen, Starbucks, Chick-fil-A, McDonald's, doesn't matter. And when you drive away, hand a $10 bill or a $20 bill on top of what it costs and say, pay for the people behind me. This money goes toward paying for the people behind me. And just drive away. You don't know them. They don't know you. They'll never know you. They won't even know it until you're gone. I mean, I've done that before. It's amazing the feeling you get from it. It's wonderful.
Yeah, and the thing about that is you, and this is something I think that we need to apply to all aspects of giving. It needs to be done in such a way where you're not expecting anything in return.
Oh, love that.
Now, you also know that you're going to get the good feelings associated with it and so on, and that's fine. But just know that you can't walk around doing that stuff expecting something in return.
Yeah, no.
That's not giving.
That's not giving. I don't know what that is. That's exchanging. That's a business deal.
Yeah.
Trying to create a business deal. No, I really like that point of you have no expectation of gain whatsoever. It's just you drive away, in this case, or whatever the giving is, and the people, the person, the recipient, the organization of your gift. And think about that also in terms of the personal relationships that you deal with in your life. There's a time and a place for you to give. There's a time and a place for you to go 100% of the way toward the other person.
Right.
We've talked about that before as well, with no expectation that you're getting anything in return, and the goodness that does for you. It's wonderful.
Here's one for you.
Yeah.
Giving forgiveness.
Ooh, man, that's powerful.
So here's the beautiful thing about that.
Yeah.
Is that, it's for both of you. And if the truth be told, it's probably more so for the person that's giving the forgiveness than the person that is receiving the forgiveness. And sometimes, you don't necessarily have to communicate that out loud to the person. Maybe you don't see them anymore. Maybe there's no reason for you to interact with them anymore. And at the same time, you're walking around with the personal angst associated with the experience, the negative experience that you may have had with them. Forgive them. Forgive them for you, because you're walking around and they're just taking up that space in your head and maybe in your heart, and that's not healthy for anyone. So give some forgiveness.
Yeah, that is extremely powerful indeed. And I don't know why this reminded me of this. It's on topic, but it's off what you just mentioned. But I'll mention, since I started to talk about it, I have to now. Did you watch the PGA Championship, or do you know anything about it? Yeah.
So I didn't watch it. I know who won it. I've seen several comments and so on about that, but no, I did not watch it.
So Phil Mickelson won it, and for those of you who don't know, okay, I'm putting this out there. Other people may laugh at this, but I believe, so he's over 50. He's almost 51 actually, over 50 years of age, and the oldest person ever to win a major championship in professional golf. Very big deal. I put this in the category, kind of, sort of the first time the 4-minute mile was broken. Mm. I think what's going to happen now is people who are greater than 50 are going to start winning these tournaments. I mean, it's not going to be all the time, because again, there's a lot of odds that are stacked against you when you get to that age. But he's broken a barrier.
Yeah, I would agree with that.
Yeah. And folks now realize, wow, I can be 50 plus years of age and be, on that particular day, the very best golfer in the world, or that 4-day period. That's actually spectacular. Oh, but where I was going with this is, about 2 weeks before the Masters, he put out a tweet, which many people read, and I actually read an article about it today, and it was a gift to me and gift to many people. And the tweet had to do with the fact that something like, he said, throughout the period of my life, I've experienced a lot, and I've made a lot of mistakes. But like you have said on this podcast many times, every single one of those events that I've been through have taught me. I've learned from it, especially from the mistakes. And we need to take those lessons that we've learned and continue on as a better person, and this is now in my own words, better, stronger, faster, because of all the things that we've learned. What a tremendous gift. And it was almost, I don't know, prophetic a little bit that he put this out 2 weeks before the next major championship, and then he ends up winning the thing. So
turns out he has learned something.
Yeah, absolutely. That's cool.
That's outstanding.
Yeah.
And congrats to him. That is definitely an accomplishment.
It's amazing. Yeah, it is.
All right, so here's one for you.
All right.
I just lost myself here. Just a second. I'm going to circle back to it. Dun, 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 dun. Can I get a Jeopardy or whatever that is?
No.
Is that Jeopardy?
No. Jeopardy.
All right. Man, I completely lost this. Here it is.
You got it? Okay, I'm going to jump in with a quote.
So I've said before how powerful words are and how meaningful words are.
Yep.
Giving compliments. I got to tell you, that's a kind thing that you can do for folks. And you have to be genuine about it.
Yeah.
Because folks will know if you're not.
Don't give false praise, right?
Yeah, when you can give genuine compliments to people, it matters. And look for those opportunities to do that. You know, one of the things that folks talk about in leadership roles is folks often, who are in a senior level, do a really good job of looking for the bad stuff that people do, and a really shitty job at looking at the good, for the good things that people do. And you need to spend more time looking for that. And I'd say you can apply that to any aspect of your life. Look for the good things that people are doing and give them compliments for it.
Amen. Yeah. I don't have a lot to add to that other than it does you both a lot of good when you do that. And it's a good one. You ready for a good quote?
Yes, I am. And you've said quote several times, and so I'm going to hit the pause button real quick, and we're going to talk about quotes. So if you're on our YouTube channel, I would certainly recommend that you make sure you hit that subscribe button so that you can and the little bell icon so you can get notified when we post new content. And we've been posting a short video on a daily basis that has a quote to ponder. Check those out. And we're going to expand that a little bit more, and there'll be some episodes where Kevin and I are on there discussing said quote, whatever it is for the day. But check them out.
Well done. That was an awesome pivot.
Because quotes are good. There's smart people out there that have done really cool things, and these moments in history have been captured, and they're opportunities for us to learn, and we need to capitalize on them.
So when I was in your driveway doing that kind of airboxing, and you said that I reminded you of Muhammad Ali because I was so float like a butterfly, sting like a bee.
One of the things that I really admire about you, you said a few really nice things about missing me and so on, and missing being here in the studio last week, and
here we go,
and so on. One of the things I admire about you is your vivid imagination. It is impressive, really. It is impressive.
Here's a quote from Muhammad Ali, who I remind you of. Kidding about that. All right. I actually love this. You ready?
I'm ready.
Service to others is the rent you pay for your room here on earth.
Amen to that.
Isn't that great?
Amen to that.
I love that. Service to others is the rent you pay for your room here on earth.
Yep.
That's a cool way to think about it.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
That whole one of the things I haven't said yet is the importance of giving love to others, and that is the lesson. That's the master lesson that we're all here to learn. And I won't do it justice, but I heard a story or read a story the other day about a young person like 5 years old that was dealing with a terminal illness. Uh-huh. And he was talking about the prospect of dying and so on, and they had an animal that passed away, and you just kind of, this story lets you know that this kid's head was in the right place. So this kid, parents are upset about this animal passing away, and others are upset, and the kid's not really upset about it. And they ask him, why is that? And he says, well, the lesson that we need to learn here in this life is about loving and giving to others. And animals, and I think in this case it was actually a dog, have figured that out. So they don't need to stay here much longer.
How old was this kid?
Like 5 years old in this story.
No way. Yeah. That's amazing.
But think about that, right?
Yeah.
So, and it's when you see, young kids and so on that deal with terminal illnesses and so on, they're some of the happiest people that you're ever going to run across. And it's just, you have to think about why that is, right? So you could certainly be all down about having to deal with that and so on. But I think it's all about the perspective that you have and the mindset that you have.
Out of the mouth of babes. And maybe it's because they haven't been jaded, they meaning small children.
Right. The world has not beat them down yet.
Yeah. And so they can express a perspective that is so fresh and so innocent and so pure that when you hear it, it's hard to believe that it came from somebody so young.
Yeah. Wisdom well beyond their years.
That's right. That's right.
It's amazing, really.
Yeah.
It also, talking about time and little kids, right? That reminded me, I said something to my wife about it earlier, it reminded me of a country song. I don't remember who sang it, but ultimately it was about dad being able to give time to his son and spend time with his son. And, mom explaining that dad has to go to work because he's got to earn $1. And so the little kid goes up to his room, gets some change, and, he's got a quarter and 2 dimes or something like that. I think this is the way the song goes. And comes back and shows that to mom and asks how much time with daddy that'll buy him.
Wow.
And that, think about that, is that something you want your kids walking around asking, I mean, I'm not sitting here in a glass house throwing rocks at people. I certainly know that there's been times in my life where I made choices that I probably wouldn't make the same today, knowing what I know today as far as how I give time to other people and certainly to my children.
You learn from the past.
Absolutely.
Yeah, you've taken. Yeah, I agree. Everybody has those things that they would react exactly like that. But the key is to learn from it and then figure out how to. And this is my primary takeaway from this day. I want to be a better giver. I do. That's it. If there were one phrase that I could leave with everybody before I finish with be a better giver, I want to go back and say the reason that this topic, I'm just having a brand new thought about this on the podcast. I thought about it earlier, but it was I'm the youngest of 4 children. My mom had 4 kids in 5 years. God rest her soul. That's amazing. But as the youngest with 2 older brothers and an older sister, giving was not a big thing. In fact, it was, just family dynamics was, especially as the youngest, when food was put on the table for dinner, it was eat as fast as you can or there won't be any left.
Right.
It was all about getting everything you could before it was all gone. And so there was much about my environment that did not teach me to be a giver. It was competition. It was be a getter. It was get all that I can while I can, because if I don't, then I'm going to be left out in the cold. And it took a minute. And when I say a minute, some life to pass me by to realize you can't be that way. I want to be a better giver. When you have a thought.
No, and it's a cool thought, right? So I'm thinking about this scenario, and I'm thinking about, the world looks the way the world does from the perspective that you're viewing it from.
That's exactly right.
And what came to mind right then when you were telling that story is, from your perspective, it was all about, getting what you can and so on. And there was an incredible example of giving right there in front of you.
Yeah.
Your mom.
Yeah.
And how much giving she was doing to take care of the 4 of you.
Right.
Right. And I'm sure there's plenty of sacrifices being made and so on.
Yeah. And same time frame. When I was a small child, my birthday came on this particular day, and I was not really old enough to understand this whole concept of birthdays and all of that. But what happened on this particular day, I woke up on a day and everybody was being nice to me and everybody was treating me special. And then people gave me gifts. And I couldn't understand it. I was like, I'm not really sure what's going on here.
Is this
like,
a trick?
Yes. Yeah, I got this red ball. There was a cake for me. And I remember being totally disoriented about why. Because as the youngest of 4 children of a family that, didn't live with a silver spoon in their mouth in any respect, I was like, wow, what's going on here? And you know what? I remember that feeling of being given a gift, and that's the point. You never know what kind of impact your giving is going to have. I remember that like it was yesterday. It's just such a powerful, and I remember, wow. Somebody gave me something. It's amazing. I feel good.
That's cool.
Yeah. Anyway.
You remember that was a birthday?
Mm-hmm.
You remember what age?
Probably 3.
Really?
Yeah.
That's pretty cool that you have memories that far back. I don't know if I can remember 3.
I think by 4 you're kind of understanding what your birthday is. At 3 you're still a little, what? Birthday?
I'd have to think about that to see if I remember 3.
Yeah.
I'm not sure I remember 53. Just kidding.
Yeah.
Kevin's getting a little worried there.
Right.
It's like we were podcasting together when you were 53.
I know, yeah. Aren't
yes,
you
I remember.
Yeah.
I remember. Yeah.
Okay.
All right. So what have we not said that we need to say about giving before we roll out?
I've said it. Yeah. Be a better giver. It'll do you and the person or the organization or the circumstance for which you're giving them a lot of good, and it will do you just as much good, even though that ought not to be the reason you do it. And you shouldn't be looking for that. You shouldn't be looking for the payback. But when you give, you will get it.
Absolutely. So the last thing I'd say in closing is don't beat yourself up if you haven't been able to give in the way that you want to give in times past. Today's a new day.
Yeah.
Everything is in front of you. Give yourself the grace of knowing that, hey, you could have done it better. And now you have an opportunity to do that. And I'm not talking about just money. I'm talking about time. I'm talking about feedback. I'm talking about compliments. I'm talking about all the things that we discussed tonight and all the opportunities that you have to give to others that will add to the quality of their lives. That's the giving we're talking about.
You bet. That's good. That's a great summation. Thank you.
So I'll leave you by giving you this last little piece of advice for the evening or the morning or, again, whenever it is that you're listening to this. Between this podcast and the next, no matter who you are, where you are, what you're doing, make sure that you take time to enjoy the ride. Now look at that. We did such a better job with timing, but I completely forgot to hit that button on time. So we've got this little delay we've got to fill in here, but it's...
I didn't remind you.
Yeah, it's all good. I'm out of practice. We skipped a week.
Right.
Thank you for listening to this episode of the Graybeard Chronicles. Please subscribe so you'll receive notification when new episodes are available. To learn more about the Graybeards, visit their website, graybeardchronicles.com.